I feel like especially with the internet today, whenever we go online, we're kind of bombarded by people who are telling us what is right and what is wrong. But how do we truly know where that comes from? And that is a big sort of moral quandary that a lot of people have, and especially people that kind of like to think about these things and to weigh out their options, so to speak. Because a lot of the time, there really isn't clear moral implications for what is right and what is wrong. And one of my favorite philosophers, especially of the modern era, 19th century philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, he wrote about this extensively. Now, he has a lot of very, very famous books that you might have heard, like Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Beyond Good and Evil, and The Gay Science, which are all very important works. But I wanted to talk about one of perhaps the lesser known books that I think is actually one of his best, and one of the best books overall in all of philosophy. And this is On the Genealogy of Morals. Now, you might have heard Nietzsche say the famous saying, God is dead, and perhaps you may have heard as well, or you may have not, the second part, and we have killed him. This whole idea that the cultural expansion of the West, the Enlightenment that the West went through during Nietzsche's time, especially in the 18th, 17th, 19th, 20th century, so on and so forth, it has led to effectively God having a less of an importance in society. Nietzsche really likes to tackle these sort of moral and religious and cultural topics, and you'll see this in a lot of his most popular books as well, like Beyond Good and Evil. He looks for the morality and an understanding of the world beyond good and evil, so without this sort of binary of what is right and what is wrong. On the Genealogy of Morals is very specifically based on where does morality come from. And Nietzsche comes up with two main ideas, and this is what I wanted to talk about today. So Nietzsche proposes that the original idea of morality that we had was the aristocratic ideal of morality. Now, this means that the rich and affluent person, whatever he did was good. Now, keep in mind, in the times of the past, the rich person was the one who was clean, he was the one who had a good amount of food, he was well-dressed, and so on and so forth. So these things, they were conducive to morality. That person was moral because he exhibited all these other aristocratic traits because of his wealth. And he said this was something that for the longest time was present in society until, he said, Judaism and Christianity changed where morality lies. Now, Nietzsche also has this idea that you might have heard of called the slave morality. Now, the slave morality is the idea that Christianity and Judaism, which were these founding religions that sort of pushed morality to the place it is now, Nietzsche would say, they very much exist almost in the slave mind, in the sense that if someone is weaker, he will demonize the traits of the master. So the idea is the slave is demonizing the traits of the master, and the master, because he had a lot of money, he had a lot of abundance, he might have had a lot of partners, these traits are now seen as bad. It's excess, and the slave, in this sense, will say it is good to have less, it is good to be humble, because that is the state that he is in. And this sort of asceticism that Nietzsche talks about later. This sort of shift, most of the morality we see today, it is very much based on this. When you look at certain ideas of liberalism that we have, that you can't infringe on other people's rights, and that you also shouldn't hurt people, and that we should each keep to our own. This is very much encompassing within this sort of moral ideology. We don't have this idea that the rich are always correct and in the moral high ground. We very much view morality based on this idea that it kind of stems from religion. And that means that even a lot of people who aren't religious will still have this religious backbone to their morality. Because when you go down this slope of morality, what's saying that you can't rationalize bad behavior by saying that it gives you a net positive, for example? Like the idea, if you kill someone and you get some sort of benefit to your own life, is that not a good thing for you, for the individual? And that would, in a sense, fall in line with liberalism, because it's your liberty sort of to do that thing and to push yourself forward in life. Now, obviously, the Christian and the Jewish person would say that that is not a good thing, because they're infringing on someone else's life, and it is wrong to take another person's life, and it's wrong to do a myriad of other things because you would be infringing on other people's rights, as well as certain things that we might feel as people, like desires, like the 7 deadly sins, greed, lust, that they would say are actually negative traits that we should not strive for. Nietzsche views this sort of shift in morality as a direct reaction to religion and Judaism and Christianity. And even though Nietzsche, like I said before, he was almost a staunch opponent of religion, he very much did see the value in a certain sense that it brought to society. Now, he had a quote in Human Ought to Human, I believe, which is this series of aphorisms. If someone makes his life goal fighting an opponent, then he is interested in the well-being of the opponent. And in this sense, you know, Nietzsche, he sort of has this staunch opposition against religion to an extent. He actually does care about religion, and he perhaps maybe even thinks it does have its purpose, you know, because otherwise, if he was so hard set onto this and it mattered so much to him that he almost defeated religions like Christianity and Judaism, then where would he be without those religions? It's a very interesting idea that he was sort of bringing forward. But I think the main thing that's so interesting about the way Nietzsche views morality, and especially this can be seen just even in the title of, like I said, Beyond Good and Evil, is he views it as something that's malleable, which I think is a very, very accurate way to view it, because morality isn't something, I don't think, that is inherent in most people. I think when you grow up in a certain society, you are adapted to certain cultural norms. It's the idea that people say if you were in Nazi Germany, right, or if you were born during 19th century America, would you be a slave owner, or would you be part of the Nazi party? And I think the truth is, most people, they would not be the outlier. They would not say, oh, this is right, because people don't really have this deep set morality. Now, everyone, I think, has a conscience to an extent, so we can believe what is right or wrong almost intuitively. But a lot of the time, the social pressure around us will overwhelm the conscience that an individual has. And that is exactly why this sort of religious morality that exists now, where we believe it is wrong to infringe on other people's rights, prevails compared to the aristocratic morality, which, you know, pushes forward that if somebody is wealthy and affluent, then they are in the right. Because it's very interesting, because it is almost the complete reversal of the morality that we had before, thousands of years ago, obviously before the rise of Judaism and Christianity, where the master and the superior man was seen as justice. To bring back to something else, Socrates would have a very similar idea when asked what justice is and morality. One of the points that was brought up in the Republic by Plato, justice is merely keeping to yourself and not interfering with other people's business. And it makes a lot of sense. A lot of the things that we might consider as wrong is impeaching on other people's rights to themselves. Like, if you go and rob someone, you're taking something from someone. If you kill someone, you're obviously taking that person's life. Same thing with sexual assault, so on and so forth, all of the manners of things. You are not looking at your own business, you're not keeping to yourself, you are infringing on someone else's rights in that sense. So the way Nietzsche really explains how religion had influenced morality, in a sense, he says modern day morality would be incomplete without the frameworks that these religions have laid out. And I think very much today, of course, I think there's always this idea of aristocratic superiority, in the sense that the people who are aristocrats, they have more power, and if they have an interest, then they can enforce it more strongly than the masses. But again, there's always power in the masses, so that means that if the masses are going towards a certain direction, then that is also very powerful, just because of the sheer numbers of the people. And as a final note, I think one of the main things that I take away from all of Nietzsche's discussion and explanation on morality is the fact that it's not as black and white as a lot of people like to make it out to be. I think we all have our very strong assertions, and these assertions are based on stuff that we see in our own life. Morality is a lot more malleable than most people would have it seem, and I think that was one of Nietzsche's main takeaways in the genealogy of morals. And of course, there's a lot more that the book kind of discusses, but these are the main points that Nietzsche really tackled, especially in the first 2 parts of the book. It is pretty short, so if you found this sort of topic interesting, then I would really recommend checking it out. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you like this sort of stuff, then be sure to tell me, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.